Hi everyone, I hope you guys are having a fantastic day today. Today I wanted to make this video and share it with you guys to thank you so much for watching my videos, for subscribing, for commenting. You guys are awesome. And I wanted to give you guys some insight on what I've done in my garden to grow it and reproduce it without that much expense. You need a foundation of plants that are easily able to propagate from cuttings, and this is what this list is. Here you're seeing my garden, how I organize my garden and how I blend and kind of place plants to form a cohesion with color and with shapes. And this is why you need these foundational plants to tie in your garden and just make everything look uniform and beautiful. Okay, so the AEONIUM haworthii is my first pick for reproducing. It is so easy. You just cut off a little bushel, stick it in the dry soil, whether in a pot or in the ground. Don't water it for a couple of weeks and it'll do great. This one is less prone to rotting because it has a woody stem. And this one, the sticks on fire, this euphorbia is a great one to propagate. It'll add such a beautiful pop of color to your garden. Just go ahead and trim off a tree-like little stem, stick it in the dry ground or in a dry pot for about 2 weeks. Resist from watering it. Just be very careful with the sap because it is a euphorbia and the sap can be toxic. Aeoniums. Aeoniums are so easy to reproduce. Not only do they reproduce themselves by throwing off a bunch of pups, but you can also cut the tops when they get too leggy. Just cut off and leave like 2 inches of stem. Let it callus because it does have a fleshy stem, and or stick it into the dry ground and you will have multiples of these in no time. So yes, aeoniums are wonderful to propagate from cuttings. This blue chalk sticks is a great filler plant and it just adds a pop of color to your garden. Just be very careful with the aphids because it is susceptible to aphids. And this is another one. If it gets too leggy, just clip the beautiful crowns, stick them in the ground, and in no time it'll be perky and reproducing. This ice plant, it is a perennial, so it comes back every season, but I find that it gets very spider webby. It dries and it's kind of maintenance, but it's very beautiful, and if you have the patience, this is a great one to propagate. Jades are, oh my goodness, they are so resilient and tough, and again, snip, snip, snip. The big old trunk, you can discard the big old trunk or keep it and use it to propagate from that trunk. But other than that, you can just split this in parts and have a bunch of plants in no time. So string of bananas. Senecios are very easy to propagate because, I mean, you just cut the tips, the strands, and then replant them in a pot and they will just root and start reproducing again. And I find that these, you have to do that periodically in order to keep the plant pretty. You have to restart it. So opuntias, you can't eat all opuntias, but these specific opuntias that I grow, these are edible and they just reproduce so much during the growing season, which is in spring and summer. They just produce tons of pads that you can either harvest and eat, or you can just go ahead and callus over, stick in the ground, and just resist from overwatering them, and you'll have tons of these in no time. But this is a great plant to propagate. This beautiful plant is a producer. It just multiplies by itself. And so just either splitting it apart or taking cuttings and sticking them in the dry ground for you know, again, 2 weeks, don't water it. It will just start reproducing and anchor itself right away, and it just adds such a pop of color and continuity to your garden. So it's great to have a plant like this. Again, this one prefers water, plenty of water during the hot season. The leaves will shrivel a little, and you'll see the indication that it wants to be watered, but this is a great one. This CRASSULA watch chain is another one that you can just snip parts of it, stick it in the ground, and it will start to root in no time. Just again, be careful with this one because it is prone to mealybug, because it is like a little shrub or a little bush, and it is very dense, so it can store moisture in the root base of the plant. So just be careful with that, and other than that, it's a great one to propagate. Here you're looking at SENECIO string of pearls, and it has a string of figs in there. It's a combination. And this one again, you just snip off an arm. Just make sure to remember in what direction you snipped it so that you don't start the one that's hanging. You want to start the one that you cut. That's the one that you put in the ground. And this one does great to restart it every few years. So this one is a resilient one that you can put in the ground. You can put in pots. It just takes off, and it's so easy because it's not prone to rotting, because of the stem. Also, it doesn't have a thick stem, and it's just great. This one and the variegated one is awesome to propagate. Here you're looking at the chocolate fingers. This is the COTELYDON. And this one here is, again, super easy to propagate from cuttings. You can either snip off the beautiful crowns if it gets too leggy, or you can just go ahead and use the offshoots, and it multiplies by itself. So you can just split it apart and plant it, and it'll have babies in no time. Burro's tail. This beauty here is awesome. It's a sedum, but it's so fragile. I mean, you will touch it and the little leaves will just fall off. So do be very careful when you're repotting this one. If you do cut it up for parts, just cut it the length of the stem that you want to repot. Remove a little bit of the leaves and stick about 1 inch or 2 in the ground. And again, just be careful not to water it right away, and it will reproduce. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and welcome to all the new subscribers. Have a fantastic day. I will talk to you guys later. Bye.